Hello, this is Paula. This is the Common Book Show, and today we are here with Richard and Greg and Brian and Tony, and of course my son Tom is the engineer. So we were not doing this for the last few weeks. I don't remember when the last show was. Was it 2 weeks ago, Richard?
Yeah.
Okay. Way back then, I was reading a book about slavery, which I really liked, and then I left it in my daughter's house, so I didn't get it back. And I picked up this book of short stories. These are great, by the way. These compilations of the best short stories of the year, they're really good stuff. And I mean, this one's 2003 because I got it at a thrift store. So it's not new stories, but they're new to me, so who cares? Anyway, this one particular one I wanted to read because of conversations Richard and I have had about being socially responsible and living in the world in a social way.
You have to tell us the author of the show.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to right now. The author is Susan Straight, and the story is called Mines, M-I-N-E-S. And in this particular passage, the main character had gone to college with a woman who was an activist. She was a very politically active in the community, and these are both African American women. So the one woman works at a youth prison, and that's her job. She's a prison guard at this youth prison. And this Tika person is a social activist, and she is having a hard time wrapping her head around how this other woman can work a job in a prison like this. So Tika said, "Doesn't it hurt you inside to see the young brothers? For my New Year's resolution, I told myself," this is the other woman talking, "silence is golden. At work, 'cause me talking just reminds them I'm a woman, with Ray and my mother and everyone else except my kids." I looked at Tika's lipstick and I shouted in my head, "I make 35 grand a year. I've got bennies now. Ray never had health care, and Danae's got asthma." That's her son. "I don't get to worry about big stuff like you do, 'cause I'm worrying about big stuff like I do. Pay the bills, put gas in the van, buy groceries. Ray Jr. eats 3 boxes of Cheerios every week, okay? Fred Harris works there, and JC and Marcus and Beverly." Tika says, "Prison is the biggest growth industry in California. They've determined to put everyone of color behind a wall." So, the dichotomy between this Tika, who was a social activist, and this woman who's just trying to keep food on the table. Her husband is kind of deadbeat guy, never had a job with benefits. Now she's got benefits. She's got this kid. He's got asthma. Those are her big concerns, whereas Tika's big concerns are the world concerns. This woman is just trying to keep her own personal world together. So, I thought that was really an excellent way of showing that dichotomy between the big picture people and the people who have to think about their own big picture. I don't know. What do you think?
Are you familiar with the book which was made into a movie called Monsters Ball?
I've heard of it. God, where?
Yeah, she saw it.
Did I see that movie?
She saw it, yeah.
Interesting premise.
Mm-hmm.
A woman's husband goes to jail for a serious crime and winds up being killed in the electric chair. So now she's a widow with 2 kids. And she has a lot of problems making ends meet. She's about to be evicted, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Severe economic stress.
Right.
And in the depths of her despair, she goes to a local store, and the owner of the store is very kind to her, all right? And she starts to develop a friendship with this store owner.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually turns into a relationship, and then he invites her to move in with him. While she's living with this person, she finds out he wasn't a store owner his whole life. he retired from his previous job, which was a guard at the prison where her husband
Oh,
was.
yeah.
And then she has to make a decision. Do I hold this against him, or do I pretend like no big deal? Let's just live in our ignorance of our past.
Well,
I did see that years
it's-
ago.
It's not so much living in the ignorance of the past, but having to take each situation and evaluate it for itself, not for, I mean, I don't remember if he had anything to do with her husband, you know, suffering or anything like that. I mean, is that part of the movie? Because I don't remember that.
I have no idea.
I believe he was. When you see the flashbacks to him being a guard, he's a very racist person,
Oh,
which makes it all the more, you could say, admirable that now he's fallen in love with a black woman. On the other hand, you could say, are you still accountable for the way you acted in the past? Which, incidentally, was the theme of Bill Maher's, one of his skits yesterday.
Really?
Should we hold the people of the past responsible for what they did because it doesn't match up with the way we think today?
Depends on, what they've done to prove themselves worthy of getting past. I mean, come on. Super racist going to marrying a black woman and just, like, finally saying, look, that passed, man, shit's over, starting over. That's admirable. That takes some cojones. Yeah.
but was he? Did he own that?
Right.
That's
Good
the
question.
point. He does not know
Oh,
that she has discovered this about him. As far as he is concerned, that's why I said the ignorance thing.
yeah.
As far as he's concerned, it's a brand new life for me. I'm an owner of a small convenience store. Everything is going smoothly. I'm not going to bring up the past. Of course, when he's not home, she's snooping around the house, and
Right. But to me, what I'm thinking is a beautiful black woman doesn't, that seems like an exception. Like sometimes people say, well, don't you have any black friends? And they say, oh, but they don't count. Because you know that person and you've gotten to know, you have a relationship with that person, and all these other people are just color to you. So, I mean, will it make a difference in his life? Will he treat other people of color differently now? Probably, but I don't know. I just, what got me about this was just the privilege of this Tika, who doesn't have children or doesn't have a life like that to worry about making whole. Her privilege against this other woman's desperation was, you've got it. You have to be able to put food on the table. And yes, she could have gotten another job, but who knows if that job would have been something that could have given her benefits and helped her in that way.
I had a co-driver in 2020 from North Wildwood, New Jersey, and it was just like, what a vehemently, violently racist guy. I mean, he'd done 5 years for an assault on his wife, and he claimed that he developed most of his hate for blacks in prison. But I told him, I said, man, 2 of your best friends are black. And he said something almost like that. Well, I don't count. Or he just kind of mumble and slough it off. I'm thinking, like, that's not an answer. Your 2 friends happen to be black. Do you see a black guy? Do you see a guy, a dude, a friend? What do you see? You hate black people so much. He'd never answered me. I don't think they have answers.
No, because it's just lumping everybody. It's like saying I hate the French.
And I met Julian. He was a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was my opening for for the show. There is one more. There's one more quote from this story that I liked, and I'll read that too, and then we can go on to something else. Okay, Mamir is the grandmother. Okay, she's the grandmother of the woman that works at the prison. Mamir used to say, "Old days, the men go off to the army. Hard time. Let me tell you, they go off to die or they come back. But if they die, we get some money from the army. If they come back, they get a job on the base. Now them little boys, they go off to the prison just like the army, like they have to be a man. They go off to die or to come back, but they ain't got nothing either way." So anyway, this is a good story, by the way. It was an excellent story. Okay. All right, so let's move on. And Richard, I'm sure you have a lot of things stored up from the last 2 weeks.
I do. Okay. So it's the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
Nazis are in Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
And if you fight against them, you're considered part of the partisans.
Right.
And you are hunted down and you are hung.
Mm-hmm.
So they catch this 18-year-old young woman
Mm-hmm.
fighting with the partisans.
Mm-hmm.
And she is captured. And they say to her, "You do realize you will be hung for being a partisan. So it would be in your best interest to tell us, who else are you with?
Mm-hmm.
Give us the names of the people who are part of your group." She won't talk, right? So they keep her in prison for a day or two, and then finally comes the hanging,
Mm-hmm.
of course, which is memorialized with this photo.
Mm-hmm.
And as the guy's putting the rope around her neck,
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Okay, your last chance. Tell us the names of your comrades, and you won't get hung." And for the first time, she speaks. She says, "I don't have to tell you their names. You'll find out their names when they come to avenge my death."
Nice.
I like it.
Wow. That's some badass bravery there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. How do you think you would react to the threat of being hung, Richard?
Well, they say you never know until you're in that situation.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
She sounds like she could be a modern day Ukrainian.
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems like the Ukrainians are responding like this to their persecution. I mean, they're nonstop. Those people.
Yep, tough people.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, I guess it's like if Canada or Mexico invaded us, and all of a sudden they were going to take over. I mean, being invaded by Canada wouldn't be so bad. I guess.
Well,
I was thinking
their beer sucks.
free tacos on the other side. Free.
Hey, we come back and take our Tim Hortons back, eh?
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess we can't really. It's hard for us to living like that, having been a part of communist Russia, and having suffered through that, and not had. I mean, I have a hard time understanding patriotism because love of country. I mean, I have a hard time with it because it seems like it's like a religion,
Mm-hmm.
love of country. It doesn't seem like, I mean, yes, I like the things about our country that appeal to me, the good things about our country, but to say I love America, good or bad, would be like saying I believe in God, whether there's a proof that he exists or she exists or not. So I know, though, that there's still strong memories of what it was like living under the communists. So I can understand them not wanting to repeat that. But look at what they're going through. All these people are dead. These mass graves, they're digging up these people now to try to find their family members. They're digging up there's crosses, but they don't know who's underneath them. It's insane. I can't even, in my wildest imagination, think about going and digging up bodies looking for the people that I care about. I just can't. I mean, does anybody think they know how they would respond?
Well, as
if they had
Americans, we've never been invaded.
except for 9/11, which was just
Well, that
Pearl
wasn't
Harbor.
actually.
yeah, Pearl Harbor was.
It wasn't like a whole army coming in and trying to take over your country, though.
Yeah.
It was just a terrorist attack,
Yeah.
which was horrible. But
Well, just?
Yeah, well, yeah.
that's why I
mean,
said which was horrible. But
Yeah, but okay. So, does anybody have an idea of how they would react to having a noose around their neck and being able to sell out people, your friends, in order to? I mean, they might have hung her anyway.
Maybe
well, that's what I would have
some
said to
Yeah.
him. You're going to kill me anyway. Why would I tell you
Yeah.
who my friends are?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Go ahead, kill me.
Such a weird kind of thing to have to imagine that your life would be taken. I don't know.
You know, if I was going to be sarcastic to them, which I probably would be, I'd probably just tell them, okay, you know what? That's it. You've pushed the envelope too far, Pilgrim. I've given instructions to my surviving friends and family members to burn every copy of Rush CDs I have and burn down every Tim Hortons in our country that you insisted we have. And I'm also going to burn out my copy of Strange Brew, which, by the way, was a good freaking movie. But now, hey, guess what? Retrieve it from the ashes, partner.
That would be a
Canadian
Canadian
invasion, yeah.
invasion.
Yeah.
And don't follow
It'd
me
be
to the next
terrifying.
plane, eh?
Yeah.
What about you, Greg?
Well, at this point, I would probably give the names up so I would live. I mean, in case they might have hung me anyways. But I mean, if they followed through on their word, I would have tried for that to live.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do.
Because I like living. Because I don't believe in any afterlife.
Yeah, I don't know what I would. And what was I was reading something recently about. Oh no, I was thinking about it. We were driving down to New York, and we were in the car, and it was a beautiful day when we were driving, and everything was so bright, lush green, end of summer green, where the light was just perfect. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm going to miss this. And then I said, no, I'm not. How could I miss it when I won't exist anymore? I won't miss it.
Well, there might be an afterlife.
There won't be something left of me that's going to miss experiencing this,
Unless there's an afterlife.
Unless there's an afterlife, but I don't count on that. But the thing is, it was such a weird thought, because it just occurred to me that it was so perfect and so beautiful that I was going to miss it. And it was just like, wow, I'm not going to exist. It was just a weird. I had a lot of really weird, morbid death thoughts.
Yeah, that's a lot
this
deeper than
weekend.
I would go. I would have been like, I'm going to miss this during the winter. That's what I would have been thinking.
Yeah.
Because I have a love-hate relationship with winter.
Yeah, I have a hate relationship.
I loved
with
it a lot when
Same
I was
here.
a kid, but the older I got, the
So
less I liked it.
So the other thing that was a death thing while we were on this vacation, I was in the Met. Greg didn't go in. He decided to stay outside and hang out in the front. I only had like an hour and a half in there, and I'm walking around and I'm in. These are the old masters, right? The European masters, and there were at least 50 depictions of the Annunciation, right? Some of them pretty good, some of them, and the older ones, of course, there's distortions on the way the people look. There's like Mary might have a little head, they weren't in perspective. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, this is a place where all these people that made this art are dead. and basically a lot of these ideas are dead. It's like being in a mausoleum. And, you know, I said, this is wild. I mean, and then I would come upon a really great master, right? Something that was really moving, and you know, even if the subject matter didn't interest me that much, it was just beautifully painted, and then I would have a different response to that. But for the most part, I'm wandering around. I'm like, this is a museum of death, and I don't know where that came from because I've never felt that way before.
But in general, I've kind of thought that about museums. They're like, I love museums, but I've walked around the museums and thought this is like just a huge building that people put all these things that may not even be connected to reality right now.
Right, but
that,
if I
that, you know, they're
Yeah.
really cool, historical or whatever, but
like standing in front of a Bruegel, you know, one of those of all the peasants just dancing or picking weed or whatever they're doing. I love looking at those because that gives you an accurate historical picture of what life was like back then, because there's no films, obviously, and there's no photographs. So to look at one of those pictures, you can step back into time. But to look at a painting of something that is a religious picture from the Bible is different. It's not real. You know, it's a mythology, or walking back into a picture about a mythological, like the Venus on a half shell.
But as someone that studied art, though, and art history in college, that picture that Bruegel painted in 1475 in Flanders or Holland, it's the artist's interpretation of what the scene is. It's not even the same as a photograph.
Right, but he was one of the first that painted
But-
the real life, you know. So at least you're seeing
Yeah.
what they were doing and how their faces looked, you know, and
True.
just getting a overview of the time. And that, I mean, I like history. That's probably why those paintings appeal to me. But even standing in front of a Van Gogh, just the technique, and even if it's not a painting of a person, if it's a painting of flowers, I love being in that space with that painting. But for some reason that day, it just felt like everything is. Maybe it's because I had a really bad meal before that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, it affected the way I saw everything.
I would like to comment. There was a performance artist. You familiar with that type of artwork?
Yeah.
To me, this is a perfect example of performance art. Mm-hmm. Who thought that a museum, like the Museum of Modern Art, was a mausoleum. Mm-hmm. And so once a year, he would take his violin and he would walk through the Museum of Modern Art. And he would play the notes D, E, A, D over and over and over
Wow.
again until he was asked to leave. Escorted.
That's pretty cool.
Escorted to the door. But that was his performance art.
Yeah, I get it. You know, but this is the first time I've ever felt like that in a museum, and I don't know. Like I said, maybe it was the bad food.
The thought had
It could
crossed
be.
my mind from time to time, but I never really remembered it till you mentioned it.
Yeah. But I like the idea of standing that close to something that somebody who really was like Rembrandt, you know, that really was a great artist and really had that sensibility. I love that. I love being in that space, in that same air that artist breathed, sort of, because it's in the paint and they don't let me touch it. Oh, so that's the embarrassing story. But this is, when I went there, I wanted to see the clothing exhibit, which wasn't open. So I missed it. There's
Kimonos.
There's a clothing exhibit in the basement all the time. Usually it's royal clothing, or it's maybe costumes, Shakespearean costumes. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that they keep down there. And they had closed it the day before I got there, and they were going to open again at the end of September. But they said there is a kimono exhibition, and it's on the second floor. So I dutifully went up to the second floor to see it, and it was interesting because not only did they show actual kimonos, but they showed fashion through the 20th century that was based on the kimono shape. So they had these coats and things, and it was really cool. And I'm looking, and I'm looking at I like fabric, and I'm looking at the fabric, and I'm just getting some ideas and thinking what I could do with that shape, blah, blah, blah. And there's two people standing next to me, and they're looking at the exhibit. There was a man and a woman, and they were younger, probably in their late 20s, maybe early 30s. And the woman said, "What exactly does couturier mean?" And I waited a couple beats, and I didn't hear the guy answer. So, of course, because I'm impulsive and I have problems with impulse control, I have to blurt out, "It means made to order." And this guy, he turned around, and he stood there basically with his hands on his hips, and he leaned in, and he said, "That's exactly what I was starting to explain to her." And I had
preempted him.
I had been like
Fighting words.
slapped down, and I was embarrassed, but I couldn't I couldn't just shut up and go on with what I was doing. I had to. I said, "Look," I said, "I have problems with impulse control." I said, "And I know I shouldn't have burst in on your conversation, but I'm very sorry that I did that." I said, "But I do get excited about things like this, and please forgive me." And he basically like walked her out of the room, and he said, "Well, at least she knows she was wrong."
Jesus.
Wow.
So I was, yeah. No, well,
Just a little arrogant.
it was arrogant, but it was. I know and I do it all the time, and I know I shouldn't do it, but I do it. So maybe this will teach me a valuable lesson to keep my fucking mouth shut. You know?
I'll share with you. It's not an embarrassing one for me because I just living without shame feels pretty good. I was living in Florida at the time, and my ex was working night audit at Bellevue Biltmore, which was a historical hotel. My folks came down to visit. We're waiting in the lobby for them, and everyone finally shows up, and we're sitting on these wicker benches, shooting the breeze, and this young couple, maybe their 20s, come in, and I mean, without any preamble, they just kind of crash in next to us, like engulfing our space. I'm like, "Okay, you're friendly for not being related." And I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute, this gives me an idea." So just out of the blue, I'm like, "Whoa! Speak of shit! It's Cousin Charlie and his new wife Kathy. How the hell are you? Man, where you all been? We thought you got run over by a streetcar in Indianapolis. Man, you should call sometime for Christ's sakes." Just crash in. I was like, "Boy, look at this man just pop in like this. What a kidder." And they glared right through me like glaring nails. And
Yeah,
my folks, prim and proper, like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, they've started it, I'm just finishing it."
Well, it's just putting yourself in situations like that, and I'm.
But it was fun.
Yeah, I know. I had a friend who used to do stuff like that all the time, and he loved it. He thrived on it.
Too bad she didn't have a number.
No, it's a guy.
No, sorry, I don't go that way.
I don't know where he is now, but anyway, did you want to talk about anything you've been reading, Greg?
Have you been reading, Greg?
That's all I do
I'm just kidding.
every day. That's my main thing.
Nothing?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay, then.
Have you read anything about sports or
No, I don't read about sports.
no?
Pop culture. He's
Pop
a pop
culture.
culture maven.
No, that's for Nature Record.
Well, maven.
I am extremely curious about your book.
Okay, what about it?
Tell us the name of it.
I don't know the title offhand.
What is it you're curious about?
Just the book in general. I want to see it. I want to read it.
Did you
I'll
bring a
give it to
copy?
you. I'll give it to you.
Did you bring a copy?
The
awesome.
book that he wrote,
Yeah.
not that he was reading and
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll give it to you, Brian.
about the Manson book. I wasn't fishing for a gift.
Yeah,
I was
just
just
said
It's
he.
my gift to you. I appreciate your enthusiasm.
no.
So yeah, it's Manson in Hell, and it's an interview with Charles
It's a 100%
Manson in
masterpiece.
This is what I'm excited about. Yeah.
Hell. Yeah.
It's profound, it's poetic, and it's funny, and it's smart, and it's interesting, and it's fascinating, and it's well done, and it's great writing.
Yeah, all of the above.
So how long did it take you to write it?
8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
You were in an interview with him.
I interview Manson in Hell in the book.
Oh,
In the
wild.
book.
Well, obviously in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, we are in hell. Ain't it groovy?
That's what some people think. Are you reading anything right now?
Yes. In fact, I
You've
wrote
got-
this
oh, I
down
th-
because
I
my
thought you
memory.
I thought you had one of those
is
mini
shot.
pocket books.
I just got this from the library about a week ago. The Emotional Life of Your Brain by the neurologist Richard J. Davidson, who is one of the head professors at University of Madison, Wisconsin, in psychology. But in the 1970s, he started looking into the connection between the body and the brain and how emotions affect your body
Oh,
and how
yeah,
your
okay.
body affect, how they go back and
Yeah.
forth. And in the introduction of the book, he says that in the 1970s, when he wanted to write papers on it, he was at Columbia University in Manhattan, and his advisors, his professors, thought he was insane because it was like a death knell
Yeah.
for a psychologist's career. Like, he believed that emotions were actually influenced more, like, I got to start from scratch. The psychologists up to the 1970s believed that emotions like fear and anger and everything were like just base products of your hormones or whatever, and that they had nothing to do with the higher centers of your brain. But Richard Davidson proved that your emotions do tie into the neocortex and the higher decision-making centers of your brain, and that they're intimately connected.
And you can control them, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of he was trying. Yeah. And so when I saw that book, I was like, curious. And then I started reading it, and I'm like, because I've always thought that maybe even the majority of people are controlled more by their emotions than their rationality.
Yeah.
That their emotions have a huge part of their thinking life, and that's basically what he shows.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I like those.
People are too fucking emotional.
Yeah, I like I like.
Well, they
the
don't
idea.
know how to balance them.
Yeah, they don't.
And
I've noticed that.
And
yeah.
that's
It makes me want to shoot them.
it's where.
Okay,
that's,
Mr. Stoic.
That's where Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and all the other
So,
philosophers come in handy. When I get too emotional, I put on a YouTube thing that has all those quotes, and I mean it's now I'm starting to recognize who said what. So it's kind of exciting. It's like, oh, that's Marcus Aurelius,
I kind of like Epictetus.
Epicletus, is that it?
Epictetus.
Epictetus. Okay, Epictetus. I just listened to his whole book on YouTube. So, but there, there's a lot of stuff that they relate to the gods and stuff that I have to kind of reimagine for the 21st century.
Yeah,
but,
that was their milieu.
Yeah, but,
the world they lived in.
So.
Hello.
Milieu.
How do you say it?
Milieu. I don't know how to say
Milieu.
that word.
Merlot.
Milieu.
Merlot.
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 Yeah, they drank a lot of wine. They believed in these gods up on Mount Olympus and shit.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
Wolfgang.
How about you, Tony? What are you reading?
Just started a book on spree killers.
Street Killers?
Spree killers.
Oh, Spree Killers.
And yeah, a number of them there. I just got done reading the chapter about James Huberty.
James Huberty?
Huberty.
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 Yep.
Never heard of that one.
You remember the McDonald's massacre of San Diego, California, in '84? He's the one that done it.
Oh, okay.
Walked into McDonald's and shot like 30 people or something.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he killed 21 and wounded about 15 more.
When you're these books, do they get into the psychological makeup, or do they just report the facts?
Some of them do just the facts. Some of them get into a little bit more. This actually seems to be more dry reading. It doesn't seem to really do anything but reports what happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't give a lot of motivation.
No background, no like childhood background stuff.
Not much.
Huh? Yeah, because I mean that's what I find interesting is kind of the motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I get I'm a little freaked out by true crime, so I don't really go into that.
Aren't you going to talk about how great the Buffalo Bills are, Paula? Your
No,
third team.
I'm not going to talk.
I almost did, but you just brought it up.
She said no. She's not going to talk
No,
about that.
you can talk
Right.
about it. Go ahead.
But I almost talked about it. I was going to
Yeah,
just say
I
how they
mean-
were like, they're obviously the greatest football team that there's ever existed. And
Wow.
they're not just going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to walk in there and just get handed the trophy because everybody's bowing to them.
Wow.
Oh, they're not going to
that's
play
great.
another team during the Super Bowl?
Huh?
They're not going to play
No.
another team. They're just going to get the trophy handed to them.
Nobody's going to want to play them. They're
Also,
so
like the NFC
afraid.
team, the NFC champion will say, we
No,
give up,
Yeah.
we forfeit.
The great Buffalo Bills.
We don't even want to play because we know we'll get destroyed.
Yeah.
That would be a
Wow.
boring season, wouldn't it?
Well, no, he's saying in the Super Bowl that would.
Oh,
they're
okay.
so
Right.
they go all the
They're
way
just they're just going to have holograms of Michael Jackson playing the whole time. And the Bills drinking champagne.
Why Michael Jackson?
Well, he was at the Super Bowl once, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he caught fire.
Yeah.
didn't
So
he?
they're just I don't know. I just said it. I don't know. It'd be funny, I guess. Michael Jackson, but I'd rather see Prince the whole time. But
you just put
you know.
Prince also played at the halftime
Michael
show.
Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't you bring a CD in the car of Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just
I like him.
interesting. I know, he's fun.
He was a scumbag, but his music was pretty good.
Well,
Hmm.
we're not really sure if he was a scumbag.
Well, why do you
You
give
know-
$20 million to that family then?
because
For
He
no
liked
reason.
him.
For no reason. You
liked him.
just liked him, Paula.
I'm just
I don't
that
know.
that kid got along with his chimp really well.
Yeah.
They were buddy.
And what about when he dangled his own child out the window? Was that cool?
no,
No,
that
was pretty.
That
screwed
made
up.
me angry
that
when I
was
saw
screwed
that.
up.
I think what you had there, honestly, you literally had a guy who never truly grew up.
Right,
I think
yeah.
he actually was
Right.
in a state of mental arrest.
He was
Yeah, he
abused by
was.
his father, Joe. Yeah.
Was he?
Joe Jackson.
Oh, badly. He was beaten badly by his
Oh,
father.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes.
What a
Yeah.
dick.
Joe beat all of those kids. It literally
even
beat
Tito.
them. If he missed one step in a routine,
Yeah.
like at the house in Chicago, I think area where they were from.
Indiana, right
Uh,
nearby.
Yeah, Gary,
Gary.
Indiana, whatever.
Yeah.
He would make them do routines over and over hundreds of times, and if they missed one step, he beat the shit out of them. That's how they got so perfect.
Yeah, picture this fuck. I'm
Yeah.
putting him in the cornfield. That's it.
He's,
Oh yeah.
Son of a bitch.
he's going to be a character in your next book.
And the mother just sat by and let it all happen.
All I was trying to talk
Oh, of
about
course.
was the Buffalo Bills being a good team this year. That's all I was bringing up. They're really good this year so far in one game. They
Yeah.
still have to play 17 games, 16 more games of regular season. So
16 games, you know.
yeah, I know they're gonna win the AFC Championship. They're gonna go to Glendale, Arizona. They're gonna be handed the trophy by the NFC team.
The
won't
city
play.
of Buffalo will burn down.
NFC won't.
Get rebuilt. This is what.
NFC won't play in the Super Bowl. They'll say whoever it is. Will
Yeah.
say. So Tom Brady, if Tampa gets there, he'll say,
I already won.
I've won seven, but I can't beat
No.
Josh Allen. So why bother
Yes.
trying? Why bother trying? Tom Brady will say.
And he'll have tears in his eyes
Where do you
because
find this guy?
Giselle
Cloud nine.
is. You heard that he and Giselle are almost separated. They're living apart now.
Wait a minute. The fact that he and Giselle are almost separated has nothing to do with him handing the trophy to the Buffalo Bills.
He'll be emotionally vulnerable, Greg. And he'll see
He'll never be able to get another date,
He'll see
Brian.
young, virile Josh
He'll never
Allen
be. I know.
with arms like
Tom will never be able to
cannons
get another date with another beautiful woman because he's just
never.
it'll never happen for him again. It's just that one time
No.
in his life.
Didn't he just get a facelift?
He had some work done.
Did he?
He did. He
Some say it's just
disappeared
Botox
like two,
for 11 days.
11 days, and then. But you don't need to disappear for 11 days
I'm
to
just
get
saying-
Botox.
Well, I don't know what he fucking got, but he went on. When he did the press conference, everyone at the press conference was like, "He looks different than he was 11 days ago."
Can we pull up 2 pictures?
I
of
didn't see
him?
it. I didn't see any.
They
big
had
difference.
to replace his
I
robotics.
didn't see any
in
big difference.
his
I didn't
battery
see any big difference.
pack.
I didn't see any big difference when he was at the game on Sunday. Playing
But you,
on Sunday.
Yeah, but you did see a front shot of his face, like a.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. Right.
But it was the TV was all blurry.
Because 10 days sounds like a facelift.
Well, people said facelift, and I said facelift to you, and you said, "Oh, it's probably Botox."
Well, I didn't know it was 10 days.
Oh, okay.
11 days.
11
technically.
days.
11 days.
Yes.
11 days.
But I think it was a marriage retreat where they were trying to save their marriage because
Why
he
would-
retired. He retired. He
to
said,
be
"I'm
with
done
her.
with football."
To be with her.
And then all of a
And then he
sudden
said,
he changed his mind.
30
Well,
days
She's
later,
like,
he
Maybe
said,
no, 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 no.
Maybe she's not so much fun to be with.
You know.
Who knows?
or may-
Well, she said, you'll like this, Paula. She said for 23 years or whatever it is that they've been together. He's been in the NFL 23 years. She's put all of her life on hold in a lot of ways for him.
yeah.
And she's
sick of it.
She's
And
a
then-
producer. She's a producer. She does like film or whatever. She does
Well,
acting or
they
modeling.
had,
and
listen, they had a fucking boatload of money. If she wanted
Yes.
to work and she wanted to do something creative, she could have done it.
she had more, but she had 5
look,
kids.
look who
She
we
had
have
5
here.
kids, though.
Yeah.
5 kids.
5
So
kids.
5 kids. Yeah. Well, she could have made a decision about that too. Okay. So
No, that's an old picture of the before. That's from like
That's
20
Yeah.
years
That's from
ago.
the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a much younger Tom Brady.
That's from like 2001.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
I think he had a penis enhancement possibly
To save the marriage.
to save the marriage.
so.
Yes.
Hi, James.
Yes.
Hello.
So glad you could join us. so
Oh, hey.
I was just about what's new with you? I was just about to return to Richard for in the merry-go-round of the show.
Just taking care of my mom and being completely drained from the process.
Oh yeah, I understand because Greg's mom's in a nursing home right now. We went there today, and I
And she said
I
to
felt
me
like
5
3 days
times
went by.
in an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Three times she said to me, James, I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. It was very pleasant.
God.
No, what my mom says is, "Why haven't you given me anything to eat? What do you have to eat?"
Well, that's pretty good too.
Yeah.
It's like, "We just fed you." What?
Where are you? Are you in Buffalo?
No.
Is she down south someplace?
In the Carolinas.
Yes.
So in an
someplace in the
undisclosed location.
Someplace in the south.
In the fortified compound.
In the fortified compound.
She's in
Okay.
an unmarked, undisclosed location.
All right. Well, I'm glad to see you could join us for a little while. So, Richard, what's next on your list?
Well, as long as James is here, I'm going to show you a cartoon that I showed to James to get his opinion on.
Oh, he's pitting us against each other again, James.
Would Richard do that?
Yes.
He enjoys it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Look how big my butt looks. Oh, hon, it's not big. I meant it in a good way. The husband is sweating and he says, I meant, oh my God, it's the biggest butt. And she goes, I know, right?
well, now, yeah, we have a new interest in gigantic butts that has been
Hypnotized by
perpetuated.
asses.
Perpetuated
Hypnotized
by
by
the
asses.
Kardashians. Am I right
Hypnotized
about
by
that,
asses.
James? Do you think the Kardashians
And J-Lo.
were the ones that
And Lizzo.
made this very popular? I don't know.
Harpo and Chico and Groucho.
Damn. Now I feel like I should have worn my Kill the Kardashians T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a young, if I was a young girl during this period, I would have been like
A celebrity.
like so sought after. what a catch I would have
Too
been.
bad you can't transpose the 70s to the 20s.
That's right.
Damn.
So
I sought after you for years, Paula, so I don't know what you're talking about.
well, that's so nice.
Well, as I live and breathe, the author of Why We Beg for Love.
But there's a
Hypnotized by
Isn't-
asses, buddy.
yeah, hypnotized. We were just talking about hypnotized by asses, and there he is.
Right on cue. It's so weird.
Oh, and you got James on the show.
Now,
J-
Paula,
Yeah.
I would think that you would remember I am a breast man.
I wasn't sure which, you know,
Or powered by funk.
since I do possess both.
Well,
Go Bills.
That's where we start.
It never occurred to me that there was a choice between one or the other. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's, but there's a in what men find attractive in women are healthy birthing hips. I mean, it's not. You're not thinking about it. It's subconscious.
What about the guys who like the thin anorexic models?
No.
They don't want children,
Oh, they don't want children, those men. Okay.
and right. So
Well, a lot of men don't want children.
so breasts, but it's subconscious. Large breasts and
Yeah, but
ample
the thing
hips.
is, I never wanted children, as you well know, and yet I like large breasts. So that.
But because it's subconscious, you're
oh,
not
subconscious,
conscious.
right?
You're not consciously.
So I subconsciously want children.
No, you don't subconscious. You want to. You would like to perpetuate your DNA, but you.
I don't really. No, I don't.
chosen-
the steroids DNA is horrifying.
And you
I do
know,
not want to perpetuate
and I
it.
have and I have
I want to
often had.
anti-perpetuate it.
We got together when we were older, and the thing is, we both have schizophrenia in our family, so our kids would really be interesting. So, yeah, both of those schizophrenic strains
Just as if
coming
they're-
together.
If our kids were just like our mothers, it would be bad enough.
That's true.
Fuck Christ. I mean it only in the best possible way. Fuck Christ.
Yeah, I know. So what did you think of that?
Well, this is what I wanted James's feedback on: is when you're dealing when you're in a relationship, do you say what you think the person wants you to say? Because that's what
Yes.
what's going on here.
Yes.
You're supposed to. Yes.
Well, it depends. You should be honest with each other, but the thing is, and I have actually told this to Greg, I'm serious about this. I said, okay, when I ask you how I look, what I want you to say is, no woman has ever looked better in the history of womankind, and no woman ever
Really?
will. And I don't care if you're lying, because it's just going to make me feel good at that moment.
Let me just say the best advice I ever got on this kind of thing.
Now that's funny.
Yeah,
A very learned woman said to me, what you do is you kind of pause and absentmindedly say to her, I'm sorry, did you say something? I was so busy thinking about how wonderful it is to be with you that I was wandering and totally missed anything that was going on.
Oh, and-
Were you speaking just now?
There's
Very
a reason
sorry.
I was never a used car salesman.
That's a good one.
That is pretty good, James. I have to say, but that can backfire, because if it was something serious and you say that, the woman might say, you don't listen to me, you don't take me seriously, what's wrong with you, don't you hear what I say to you?
Listen to
Hence
you,
why I
Paula. I get the
relationships.
music.
But usually
to you, I get the heat.
usually that would be very
Following
disarming.
You, I climb the mountains. I get excitement at your feet.
That's it, you're getting the picture.
Right behind you, I see the millions. On you, I see the glory.
I know.
From you, I get opinions. From you, I get the story.
You
I
know, I
know.
still can see, hear, and talk.
That's true. You know, you're a deaf, dumb mute. That's,
I mean, God, this is just so sweet. I could just touch myself, really.
yeah, right.
Please, not
Tony,
now.
can you hear me? Tony, can you hear me?
Oh,
Tony, can you
shit,
hear
it's cousin
me?
freaking Kevin.
Okay,
Dudley's making a lot of comments.
Via,
Yeah,
you
I
go.
saw that.
You mean
Gen-
Nessa?
gender.
Yeah,
you
what's
go.
up,
Okay.
Dad?
Then, oh yes, so
Rest
oh,
is
me,
okay.
me too. You're not really, Dudley. You're not schizophrenic. You're just unique.
Yeah, you're irreverent.
and
Unique.
irreverent. So
You're
anyway,
reverend.
so James, you did you comment on that comic to
No, I
Richard?
didn't.
He said he could only tell me in person
Oh.
Oh.
Why?
because it had it had a voluminous interpretation.
Ah.
Wow.
And you don't want to interpret that in mixed company, I take it.
I didn't get anything out of it. I thought it was.
Well, like you said, Richard would like to have you and I go at it.
Of course, he lives for moments like that, and that's why we love him.
That's not why I love him.
All right, so what?
I love him because
We
once.
would agree on the point that
Three
men are
times.
hardwired to be attracted to things that happen to correlate with being a healthy, fertile woman.
Yeah.
And
Corn-fed.
You know, the hips, the busts, the long hair, those are all a thing.
They're things,
Yeah.
yes.
The what? The long hair?
Yeah.
Men can grow long hair.
Definitely the long hair.
But men
The
can grow
thing-
long hair, James.
Excuse me, I'll be back in 15 minutes.
The point is,
Control
that
yourself.
a woman
What's
That long? Takes me
has
5.
to have correct
I'm imagining.
vitamins and minerals that would actually
Sure.
nurture a baby. So she can't grow long hair if she's not healthy enough to just get a baby.
Can you give me 20?
I'll
right.
see you and go
Let's
15.
try to pull
20
this. Let's try to pull
something.
this thing out of the mire here.
No, I just meant push-ups. Can you give me 20 push-ups, James?
Do you have a political thing on your list, Richard, that we can discuss for the next 7 minutes?
Sure. And I sent this to you, and you remarked on it. There's a college in Ohio called Oberlin.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta pay $80,000 a year to go there. All right. And across the street from the college, there's a bakery, and the students go hang out there all the time. And the college prides itself. We are a progressive school. We try to teach values on how to be a better society for our students. So at this family bakery in 2016, one of the students from Oberlin, who happened to be black, went in there. He walked over to the cooler in the bakery and he stuffed in his coat pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Who was at the bakery? The grandson of the owner.
What did he put in the coat pocket? I'm sorry.
Whatever you get from a cooler.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You know,
Could be water,
beer,
could be pop,
water,
yeah.
pop.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Wine, yeah. So the grandson saw him, follows him out into the street, and says, "Hey, I saw you take that from my grandfather's store. Go back in there and pay for it." "What do you mean? I didn't take anything, blah, blah, blah." Who happens to be walking by? Two of this person's friends, right? Then two of the grandson's friends walk by, and pretty soon there's a melee, and the police are called, and the police arrest all the people involved, take them down to the station, they sort it all out. Okay. Well, this incident appears in the Oberlin student newspaper. But it appears as an editorial saying that the bakery across the street is targeting black people. And next thing you know, there are students walking in front of the bakery with picket signs saying, "Do not patronize this racist establishment." Okay. So what happens then is the picketing goes into the school newspaper. All right. Now you have professors who feel sympathetic with the cause going and joining in on the protests in front of the bakery. So the owner of the bakery contacts the dean of the school because they're losing business and says, "You got to work this out with us." And astonishingly, the dean writes back, "Here's my solution to this dilemma. Number one, drop the shoplifting charges. And number two, in the future, when a student is accused of shoplifting, give them special treatment." This infuriated the bakery owner. He immediately told his lawyer, sue the college for these protests because they're not going to meet me halfway on
Their
this.
livelihood's affected.
So
yeah.
all this time, the case has been making its way up into the courts, and last week it was announced the bakery won the court case, and the jury awarded an unbelievable verdict. The jury
Oh,
said
that's right.
Oberlin College must pay the bakery $36 million over the next 2 years.
Man.
So there's what I'd like to ask you is, good verdict or bad verdict?
Well, hey, I mean, they raised
Good
them
verdict.
well to cost them their business, ruin a family livelihood, and everything
Sorry,
else.
I thought
Yeah, it's
You know?
okay.
I thought I had it turned on.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you do that. I mean, you ruin someone's livelihood, ruin a whole family's livelihood for that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and the kid stole it. So yeah, I think it's a good verdict. you
Well,
know?
yeah, like I said, there was nothing in there to say that if a white student had come in and done the same thing, if they would have gotten the same treatment. You know, that would be, to me, that would show, of course, if they didn't get the same treatment, they just, you know, took them aside and said, hey, just give us back then that would be something that but I don't think it had anything to do with the color of the person, if they would have done the same thing if the person was white. But to me, I think, I don't know. I have actually thought about this a little bit since you sent this to me. If it was negotiated back with the school and they said, okay, we will drop the charges against the shoplifters. It was only 3 bottles of whatever. But we need to have like a press conference here about what had happened and why it happened. You know, and if the school would have agreed to that, then I could see them settling this out of court. But you know, they did jump to conclusions, but it's easy to do when it's something based on race like that. It's easy to jump to conclusions. And this woke culture, I don't know. Does anyone not agree with me on this? We've gone too far.
I don't care what color or race it is. How about don't stick your hand in someone else's property and don't stick said property. in your
Right,
jacket.
but what the problem is that it's, if there's unequal treatment, then you can say, you know, it was a racial issue if it's unequal, and you don't know. You can't recreate that scenario and then see what happens. Maybe you
Right.
could, but it's useless. I just think that they could have worked it out in a way
Right.
that was more humane and worked for everybody. But you know, we're a litigious society. It was a lot of money.
I mean,
And how much could that bakery make? How much money
That's what
did they lose?
36 million's excessive.
How much money did they lose
Yeah.
in that period of time? And an apology, I mean,
ridiculous.
wouldn't a couple $100,000 in an apology work just as well?
$36 million is ridiculous.
I mean, nothing
It has
personal
no, it has
or
no
anything,
relation to what the
but-
situation is.
Yeah.
and nothing personal. But I mean, if I saw any one of you doing the same thing in someone else's business, I'm not going to stick.
Well,
up for you,
we're not,
you know?
we might
no
be a
way-
little
I would
bit.
expect you to do it for me.
There's
Right.
no way that $36 million should have been paid out. That's
That's a lot of money
Be told that they
for a
should be paying it
bakery.
out.
I mean, if it was a bakery that was a national bakery, that's a different thing. This is a neighborhood bakery.
I just think it's so ridiculous, the amount of money.
It is. It's too
So
much.
That's why it's a bad verdict. It should be like, who said hundreds of thousands of dollars? One of you just said hundreds
and
of thousands.
and an apology.
Yeah,
A public apology.
Hundreds of thousands, but not 36 million.
I've seen some crazy judgments like that in some lawsuits in the last 6 months,
But think of
where
this.
it's like 100.
Okay, everybody. Goodbye. It's been real.
But a national bakery,
Bye, James.
the